Hi-ho, folks, and welcome back to the adventures of Turwinkle, the Gnome Mage. Well, hi, Turwinkle.
Salutations.
Are you all set for tonight?
Indubitably.
Well, great, because tonight we are going to go get dressed up, and we're going to hop over to Cenarion Circle, and we are going to interview the famous Khromie. That's right, we're heading over to Cenarion Circle, as I just said, and we're going to talk with Khromie. We've really been looking forward to not only getting to Cenarion Circle and starting to talk to some of those folks there, but we are so excited to talk to Khromie. Everybody that we've talked to in Cenarion Circle has mentioned you need to talk to Khromie. If you want an indication of what Cenarion Circle is about, you got to talk to Khromie. And so Khromie has made us a wonderful tuxedo outfit that we're going to go put on. And so we will see you folks there with Khromie. So we'll see you folks there. Alrighty, folks. Well, we made it safe and sound to the tram from Chillwind Camp. And why the tram, you might ask? Well, because Khromie is the anointed princess of the tram between Ironforge and Stormwind. And so, let's see, where is she? Oh, she's over here by Nipsey. There she is. And Nipsey's going to join us. Hello, Nipsey. And, oh, he doesn't have his pirate. Oh, no, his brother's the one with the pirate costume.
That's right.
Yes, and she also has her pet with her, but we'll get more into that. And so, hello, Khromie.
Hi, Turwinkle.
Well, it is such a pleasure to get the chance to sit down and talk with you tonight. Not only because you are the anointed princess of the tram.
The anointed crown princess.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
And how did you get that title?
It's actually pretty recent. Chromy crashed a knighting ceremony held by a very dignified guild on the server called Pia Presidium. She just barged in and said, "I'm ready to be a princess now." And just to shut her up, one of the higher-ups went through this fake ceremony with her and told her that she's now the crown princess of the tram.
Oh, wonderful. And so she holds court down here, I imagine?
When she can. I mean, she's obviously quite busy with all her other princess duties.
Okay. Well, wonderful. And so, again, we have Khromie here, and currently is in Sparkle Zigzag Love. What is Sparkle Zigzag Love?
Khromie, without quite knowing it, is really big into wordplay. Though she doesn't fully understand what she's doing, that's her interpretation of star-crossed love. And that's because she always falls in love with the impossible sort of figures, the always super serious, very militant or very strong sort of heroic figures who really wouldn't give her the time of day because she's so silly. But she always becomes absolutely enamored with them.
And who is she enamored with currently?
Oh, she has quite a long list, actually. We can get into that a bit more later, I think, but it's very closely tied in with some of the forum writing I've been doing on the server.
Okay, and again, it is Khromie Overspark, and you're the Guildmaster of Navigators of Azeroth?
That's right.
And what kind of guild is that?
It's actually just between about 6 or so of my very close friends, and they are the people that I first met on the server and became very close with. And it's stayed very small. We never really actively recruited. And unfortunately, some of them have taken a break from the game, but I'm so fond of the guild and all the sentiment attached to it that I can't bear to leave it.
Well, certainly, and are some of them still with you in the guild?
Some are. Occasionally I'll see one or two pop up. And it's really interesting when I'll see, like I have a friend's son who still plays, even though his dad was my guildmate. And I take him through dungeons and things like that sometimes. So it's nice to just have that network still.
Sure. Yeah. And so who are some of the folks that are still with you?
Um, ooh, I have to say hello to Nayula if she's listening. She's probably been with me the longest. And she is a very, very intelligent and extremely gorgeous Draenei mage. And she and Chromie have this really just beautiful platonic friendship, just this love for each other. It's really quite moving.
Okay, well, awesome. Now, you're a level 90 pygmy gnome priest. Explain the pygmy gnome a little bit.
So one of Chromie's insecurities is that she's quite short, even for a gnome. So I think that's just kind of like what she tells everyone, anyone who points it out, and herself, that, oh, it's not my fault, it's this condition, I'm a pygmy gnome. When in reality, it's probably that, she's still growing, but also she just happens to be kind of short.
Okay. All right, well, wonderful. And so, folks, when we come back, we are going to take a look at Chromie's MRP. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks, and we are back, and we have Chromie's MRP opened up here. And so, again, name is Khromie Overspark. Now, how did you come up with the name Khromie Overspark?
So I got back into WoW after quite a long hiatus. And the first time I played, I hadn't really paid attention to lore. So the second time I played, I started actually looking at quests and looking at NPCs and kind of paying attention more. And I came across Chromie, the original Chromie, on top of Wormrust Temple, I think.
She's actually at Crown Point Tower in the Eastern Plaguelands. And I know that because currently that's who Turwinkle is working for in his quests.
I remember that, but I actually hadn't seen her that time around. I think I skipped that area. So my first introduction to Chromie, the original Chromie, was on top of the temple.
Oh, was she somewhere else in previous editions of WoW?
She, in Wormrest Temple, at the very top where all the dragons hang out, in like a little rotunda.
Oh.
Yeah. Have you never been?
Turwinkle hasn't gotten there yet. So
oh no. Okay.
Oh, spoilers.
Yeah. Oh no. No, they all chill out there, like all in this like very cool little round top of the temple place.
I can't wait to see now.
Yeah, it's really lovely actually. And Chromie especially stood out for me because, all the other dragons are pretty imposing and they look pretty serious and they're decked out in their regalia, and then there's this little gnome and I was like, who is she? What is she doing up here? And so I Googled her and I was like, that is amazing. There must be, a whole generation of gnomes named after this Chromie. And then this character idea just came to me pretty easily, just based on that little bit of inspiration. And I knew she would be my Chromie. I knew that she would be a troublemaker. And I liked the idea of this sort of trust fund baby, just getting into all sorts of messes that her family has to cover. So I wanted to link her to a pretty well-known gnomish family. So I just thought of Tankmaster Overspark, since, he's the gatekeeper to gnomish engineering. And I just thought, well, he must make a lot of money off of that.
Wonderful. Now, it says... in your description, it says Chromie bears a striking resemblance to the mortal form of a certain dragon. For the keen observer, she is distinguished by her exceptional height, which is exceptionally short even for a gnome. She favors a necklace of softly glowing dark beads around her neck, her most prized possession. Where did she get that?
That ties into one of her sparkle zigzag love affairs. One of the first... actually the first crush Chromie had well, the first crush that I actually role played out on the server, I should say, was with and I think he was a Death Knight at Draenei named Cyrus. And he's in another very well-known guild on the server called, oh, I hope I don't mess this up, Luchdu Ucheliad. I think the name is Welsh. I've been told the name is Welsh. And Cyrus is a very high-up officer, and the character is just like something out of a horror movie. He is a murderer. He carries around massive weapons, and in real life, I would probably never want to encounter him ever. But Khromie saw him, and she's just like, he's tall, he's handsome, he's mysterious. I love him. I'm gonna marry him. And she would just chase him around Stormwind, and the character was surprisingly very patient with her. And I think she gets a little bit of leeway because she is still a child, relatively young, I should say, by gnomish standards anyway. So he gave her this necklace as like a peace offering, as I can't marry you.
Oh.
But here's this little present to remember me by. But of course, Khromie heard that as like, I promise I'll marry you one day.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
so she wears it every day.
And so I guess the next part does say Khromie is still considered a child in gnomish society. She's rarely seen without her tranquil mechanical yeti, Van Winkle, who serves in lieu of an altar boy for the unconventional priestess. There's a strange aura to the yeti, however, that can be detected by those who are finely tuned to shadow magic. So, Mr. Van Winkle, when did you get him?
He's very special. I got him, I pretty much bought him like the moment I re-subbed to WoW after my hiatus. And I'd remembered that on my old server, when I first played, I saw someone with it, and I thought it was the coolest thing, but I didn't have the money to buy one, and I didn't know that engineers could make one, and so I never got it. And I guess I still had a hang up about it, because that was one of the first things I did when I resubbed. I was like, I'm going to buy that Yeti. And I bought the Yeti.
And so he plays a big part in your RP, does he?
He does. He's with Khromie all the time. He's like her constant companion.
So he is your George to Turwinkle then?
Pretty much. I think so. It's that pretty special relationship.
Well, great. I think every gnome needs to have his or her own George, and it looks like Mr. Van Winkle does a great job for you. Now, there's a strange aura to him. What is that? What's that about?
Yeah, he's actually probably the most exciting part of Khromie's life without even her realizing it. The way I imagine him to be is that, first of all, he's not actually a tranquil mechanical yeti, but he's just taken on this form, and he just showed up one day to Khromie, and Khromie just thought, hey, I've never actually successfully built anything before, but now I can pretend that I built this yeti because I'm a gnome and my family expects me to build things, so I built this yeti. But I don't know fully, I haven't decided fully what his identity is yet, just that he's been around for a very long time, and he has a lot of power, but he doesn't really use it in any other way except to keep Khromie alive.
Okay.
And just basically he wants to observe what she does, and he really likes the way that he really likes her outlook on life and the way she lives her life. He thinks it's all good fun. He loves that she doesn't like sharing, but she'll share her booze and her cake with him. And he likes that he's kind of ended up being her confidant, even though he doesn't actually speak back to her. She just will talk at him nonstop.
Again,
And actually, he is the author behind the Quilsy ink Spinner books that I think you might have read on the forums.
oh yes,
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful. So, folks, when we come back, we're going to take a little look at Chromie's biography. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks, and we are back, and now we are looking at Chromie's biography. And so, again, she is 25 years old, which is really young for a gnome, and her home is here in Stormwind, her birthplace, New Tinkertown, and her motto is, as you can see there, folks, Trolls Balls, and now, is that something that she yells out quite a bit in frustration?
In frustration, sometimes in shock, occasionally in joy, just because she's constantly surrounded by very pious, very religious people. Um, she loves, getting a rise out of them.
Okay, great. And that's awesome. All right, her history, it says, in hopes that she would grow big and strong, Chromie's parents named her after the famous bronze dragon, and how do you pronounce that?
Oh gosh.
Chronomu.
Chronormu.
There we go. And so forgive us, you low nerds out there.
I'm really glad you don't know how to pronounce it either.
Whoop. Good grief. Turwinkle was excited about that. We messed that up. But, yeah, I pronounce things perfectly. It's just Turwinkle, he has a hard time.
That's right. That's right.
We do great. It's just our gnomes that have a hard time.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, Chromie, spelled differently, as she is quick to point out, is exceptionally short, even for a gnome. Though a few know of her connections as the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of Tinkmaster Overspark, she bears a heavy burden on her shoulders of becoming yet another infamous gnomish engineer. Alas, she has yet to have a single mechanical device function properly or explode, save her tranquil mechanical yeti. But there's something strange about that yeti. And so that's that's wonderful. A trickster through and through, Chromie has made some frenemies in the gnomish world. Now, she has been sent to wreak shenanigans on the city of Stormwind. In hopes that she will learn some discipline, her family has donated large sums of money to the Cathedral of the Light to have her train under their divine order. I love that, by the way. That is just awesome. Chromie has already melted a face or two with the penance gone awry, and seems to spend most of her time at the Blue Recluse or hawking her handmade garments to unsuspecting victims, that is, customers, by running pop-up shops all over the city. Her colorful clothes are always made with a twist, such as hidden pockets or polished goblin toes for buttons. She is the self-proclaimed bestest tailor of all time ever. Wonderful. Now, I love this whole storyline that you have with Chromie here. It is a lot of fun, and so I guess going off your biography here, what would you consider your RP style to be? Are you a heavy RPer, medium, light, multi-paragrapher? What's your RP style?
I have always struggled with distinguishing what that means, like heavy, light, medium. So I always kind of look at it as rolls with the punches.
Okay.
I just, when I role play, I do what I want, and I expect other people to do what they want. And when we interact, things happen, sometimes beyond our control, and sometimes, worst comes to worst, we can whisper about it and fix it. But I'm not too fussed about anything except just doing what we want.
Now, would you say there's a sense of comedic RP with Chromie?
Absolutely. I'm all about the comedy. I think for me, that's been the real joy in playing Chromie. I can just kind of escape into this mentality of everything, nothing should be taken seriously. I should never take myself too seriously, as a character and also as a writer. So I really enjoy that sort of escape into levity.
Well, that's great. And I think what I love about Chromie is just the little bit of time that I've had to spend with her and just reading her MRP. I've got a smile on my face already. It's something that for me brings a sense of joy and a sense of fun right off the get-go. And so I cannot imagine the shenanigans that she gets into and how much fun that is for for folks that are, again, maybe they're having a bad day or something's not going right and they have an interaction with Chromie. I cannot see that not going any other way but them walking away with a smile on their face and a chuckle. Because again, just a little bit of time reading the MRP, I've been cracking up. I just love the whole concept behind Chromie.
Thank you so much. It's actually been one of the most rewarding things about playing her. When I'll get that whisper from someone saying, I was having a bad day and you made me laugh. And, that just makes it so rewarding. Yeah.
All right. So, folks, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about that and see what kind of shenanigans Chromie has gotten into. And we'll talk a little bit more about her RP style. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, and we are back. And so, Chromie, when you made Chromie, did you do so with kind of the idea behind her in mind, or did you roll the gnome and as you were playing along decided this is what I want to do with it?
I had the very strong idea of where she comes from and aspects of her personality and that connection to the Chromie. But actually, the more I interacted with people and the more I was surprised by their reactions, I did find that it helped me scope out the direction I wanted to take her in. So there was definitely that aspect of, the interaction shaping her when she was very new still. Now I think it's, now I know who she is. Now she's very definitive to me, but when she was first starting out, there was that stage of growing.
Certainly, and kind of forming the character.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, and so how is her RP received by most folks? Is it positive?
Absolutely positive. I can't express enough about how welcoming Cenarion Circle has been to me and to Chromie. When I first made her, I genuinely thought this is going to be the most annoying character in the world. I just thought nobody's going to want to be around her for more than 5 minutes. Or if they stick around, it probably means they're even crazier than her. But actually, I found that most characters are incredibly patient with her, are often very protective of her, and are just very understanding and accommodating. And it's been just so much fun.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, it's always good to find a server that's welcoming of not only your RP, but of your character as well, and you're not feeling like, oh man, I stepped into the wrong wrong server here. Have you run into maybe a guild or somebody that thought, this is really annoying. Why are you doing this? Where they almost felt like you were trolling them?
I honestly can't say that I have. Probably the most notorious guild on the server is actually one I've mentioned before. Here we go again with the Welsh. The Looch do a Cheliad. I'm going to be so embarrassed if they listen to this and be like, oh God, she got it completely wrong. But it's full of, these horrible characters. They are just the most vicious, crazy, psychotic people, murderous. Just the whole lot of them should be thrown into the dungeons, really. But actually, I've never had a problem with them, certainly not out of character. And, even in character interactions, it gets crazy sometimes, but we all have such a good time.
Well, that's great. It seems, or it sounds like you've certainly found that fine line between, again, making people laugh and not taking, that RP to the melodrama and all that stuff, but having that comedic, happy RP where you can go in and have something blow up and cause everybody to laugh or whatnot, and then between that and being someone that's trolling a guild, and and there's that fine line, and it sounds like you've found the perfect combination with Chromie, in that again you're making people laugh with your RP rather than annoyed with it, and so that's.
Well, I hope I'm not annoying anyone.
Sure. Well, I don't think so, because again, as Turwinkle has reached out to the Cenarion community, Chromie was the biggest. You got to talk to Chromie if you want to talk about Cenarion Circle. You got to talk to Chromie, and so certainly the server is definitely behind Chromie, and you're very popular here. So if that were not the case, they would be saying stay away from Chromie.
Maybe they're trolling you and they're forcing you to spend time with me.
Wonderful. Well, you never know.
But no, I feel very lucky to have found such a great place to call home. And it's just, granted, I'm still quite new, and I haven't had as much playtime in the game as well as some of the veterans, but I just feel like this is pretty rare and special to have the kind of community that we do here on Cenarion Circle.
Well, wonderful. And so, folks, when we come back, we'll get more into that. We'll find out when Chromie started playing WoW and when she got into our RP. So we'll be right back with that. All right, and we are back. And so, Chromie, when did you start role-playing in WoW?
I can't give you the exact date because I'm terrible with dates, but it was the first time that I subbed, obviously. I was on a server called, what's it called? Argent Dawn?
Okay.
Is that a server?
It is.
And I had, I think it's quite well known, or it used to be, because I remember I found it by Googling, probably like RP WoW servers or something.
It's not as big as it used to be, but it certainly is still an excellent RP server.
I had a great time with a guild that I'm also struggling to remember the name of, but I really didn't know what was going on because it was so different from the forms of role play that I was used to. I started out in text-based role playing, so I was used to very, very, very lengthy posts and storylines that were much bigger in scope than what can be done in the game, or what can be done spontaneously in the game, I should say. And so I feel like I didn't really get a proper experience of what WoW roleplay is like until I made Chromie on Cenarion Circle. And even that process was quite a struggle and a learning process, but a very worthwhile one.
Sure. And what do you think the hardest thing for you to learn coming to WoW RP was?
I think the biggest barrier actually was figuring out how to interact with people, like how to find people to play with, how to, and also finding that courage to approach strangers, which is eventually what I did. The very first thing that I did with Chromie's roleplay was I literally just parked her outside of the Blue Recluse as much as I could, and I started yelling out in the red text about Chromie's pop-up shop, and that anyone could come buy these fantastic shirts. Which, by the way, your tuxedo looks amazing on you.
Oh yes, that's right, folks. And let me show the folks here. There we go. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh dang
Do a
it!
full little twirl.
There we go. There we go. Yes, that was his twirl. And yes, this whole tuxedo was provided by Khromie herself here. The gloves were Turwinkle's touch to the outfit, but the whole outfit, yes, it was so nice of you to send. And she also sent us a wonderful piece of cake and some toys as well, and that we can give out to our peers as also here on the server. So thank you so much for that. It really, his beginning clothes here were a little rough, but so we certainly appreciate the help there.
Oh, it's my pleasure to help people be as fancy as they can be. But yeah, so I would just stand shouting outside of Blue Recluse about this pop-up shop, and eventually people started coming, and then eventually I realized that actually I was drawing people to come roleplay in the Recluse when they usually wouldn't or hadn't in a while, when they realized someone else was there. And on such a small server, I think it really, one person can make such a big difference just by being a bit more courageous, or just grabbing a stranger and forcing them to pay attention to you. Going back to the forum story I brought up, where Chromie's Van Winkle is the secret author behind a very famous gnomish romance novel series. That whole idea for this very big arc stemmed from a random interaction that I forced upon this poor player. He plays a character named Orwin, who runs the Stormwind Union on Cenarion Circle, and he is the lieutenant commander of the City Watch. So another very dignified, very esteemed figure that Chromie pounced upon one day while he was checking his mail. And I had a great time. I'm sure he was flustered and confused, but he rolled with the punches, and this brilliant arc that the whole community could participate in was born from his patience and his willingness to go along with it.
Which is wonderful. You find, again, with the RPers out there, such a creative bunch, but you'll find some of the most wonderful stories come out of, just like you said, just a random person you walked up to, and then all of a sudden you have this huge, magnificent RP story arc that still continues to this day. Is that correct?
Yes, I need to update it soon. You have been a factor in motivating me to update it. But it's amazing how just, a few forum posts here and there, and Chromie running around talking about how she's going to marry Sir Orwin. It turned into this thing that just everyone accepted into their characters' vocabulary and their characters', knowledge of the world. And I love when I come across someone who's flipping through the Sir Orwin romance novel while they're, sipping their tea at the Blue Recluse, or someone who's excited about the movie posters being around town. It's just amazing how people pick up on things like that.
Now, are they RPing that just through the RP, or is that like a GHI item?
It's just purely imaginary. I am a bit of a... I avoid add-ons as much as I can. The only add-on I use is MRP. So everyone just imagines this book, and I think that makes it almost more special, because it's purely driven by people's desire and want for this object to exist in the game.
Well, that is awesome. Yeah, I have to agree. I think it does add a little bit. It adds a little bit more to it, doesn't it? If it's something that's not tangible, but something that they're RPing, role-playing with. So I think that is wonderful. So folks, when we come back, we are going to talk a little bit more about the concept behind comedic RP and a little bit more about it. And so we'll be right back with that. All right, and we are back. And one of the things that Khromie and I discussed in between shots here, not shots of liquor, folks, the shots on the show, was how some folks feel that comedic RP is not a legitimate form of roleplay. And in some ways it's just a lazy type of RP, whereas it is actually quite the opposite, isn't it, Khromie? It's a lot harder to run a successful comedic RP than it would be your basic hack and slash type RP, isn't it?
Well, I certainly like to believe that, because I think sometimes people might forget that I am putting myself into Chromie stories, and I am putting my efforts and my energy into role-playing her, and that it's not just, it's not just off the cuff, funny, haha. There is effort there. There is a person there writing it. And for me, it takes just as much gravity, just as much concentration, just as much effort and earnestness as role-playing that very doom and gloom, tragic backstory, half vampire, half cat character.
Well, certainly, yeah. I think it's a lot more difficult to pull off a successful comedic RP. And again, because you're writing you're writing that fine line between being a troll and being someone that's everybody's enjoying, and so coming up with the storylines and kind of the actions that Chromie does to keep everybody, in good spirits and something that everybody's enjoying is a lot of work. And you ask any comedian out there, oh, it's just, you just get to go up there and you make jokes and people laugh. Well, it's not that easy. You have to come up with these anecdotal stories and these RP settings that are going to, again, bring a smile to people's faces, and that is a constant work. And so for people to say, oh, come on, it's not a serious RP. Well, in some retrospects, yes, but some retrospects, no. Because again, your storyline is just as legitimate as, again, those quote-unquote more serious storylines out there. And so, Chromie's story, I'm sure. And how long have you been playing Chromie?
Goodness, for a little over a year now.
Okay, and so I'm sure her adventures from day one to now would make a wonderful, wonderful book, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's just been such a blast, and she leads such an interesting life, and her world and her outlook upon it just feels really special.
And really something that the whole community of Cenarion Circle has kind of, well, as you mentioned, have kind of gathered around. And so how popular do you think Chromie is on the server? Do you think pretty much everybody knows Chromie?
I think the answer to that varies in character, out of character. In character, I think there are there's quite a strong majority of characters who must find her really trying and annoying. Bless them for even putting up with her for a minute. I know I wouldn't do it. But out of character, I just can't emphasize enough how supportive everyone has been of my efforts. She's welcomed to a lot of events, and I've been very fortunate in finding a community that does consider comedic RP to be a genuine form of expression. And actually, Chromie has officiated about 3 or 4 weddings, which every invitation I'm like, really? Like I whisper out of character, I'm like, really? Do you really want this to happen? And actually, it's just every time people express gratitude and nothing but gratitude. And I'm just so floored that they want her to trample over their special day. But it's fun. I always have a blast, and I'm just really grateful that my friends seem to have a blast too.
Now, has Chromie had any interactions with the Horde side?
Very limited. She hates Horde. She absolutely hates Horde. I mean, you can tell by her motto.
Yes.
She has a pretty filthy vocabulary sometimes, especially when she's drunk, and all of her swears and curses revolve around body parts of various Horde races.
Oh, well, that is wonderful. So, folks, when we come back, we're going to learn a little bit about the player behind the screen. So we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about the player who plays Chromie. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, and we are back, and we're at the part of the interview where we get, again, to know a little bit about the player behind the screen. And the reason we do that, folks, once again, is so that we can kind of break those stereotypes out there that are of the role player. They're not all 40-year-old guys living in their mom and dad's basement eating Cheetos all day. There are people from all different backgrounds and professions, and so Chromie is no exception. And so, Chromie, what do you do outside of WoW?
I'm actually a postgrad student working on my doctorate in literature.
Oh, wow. And so do you think that helps with your roleplay?
Absolutely. I think I started role-playing when I was quite young, I think about 13 or so. And that definitely helped foster my passion for writing. I feel like it was tremendous practice in character building. It's certainly helped me with my own work of fiction. It's just really helped me come along as a writer.
And so, is that what you're going to do with your education? Is become a writer?
I am working on my degree so that I can teach at university level. I'm currently teaching undergraduates right now, and I think writing is something you can do on your own. That's something I want to get across. If any aspiring writers are out there, you don't have to take a course. You don't have to take a degree. You're already writing if you're role playing. You just need to, shift focus a bit, and you can perfectly well do it on your own.
Well, I think that's interesting because as I have interviewed quite a few folks, that's one common thread that most of them have, is that they either write as a hobby or something that they want to do in life. And so the question we always ask, does your writing help your RP, or does your RP help your writing?
I think when I was younger, for me, it was that role-playing helped my writing. I think the real beauty of role-playing is that it forces you to learn how to characterize, how to really flesh out believable, credible beings, that can fend for themselves in this world of your creation. But as I grow older, as I become a more experienced writer, I think RP has turned into more of an outlet. And I think that's a very natural change, and it doesn't devalue roleplay at all for me, but it's just a great place to let loose some of my purple prose, my puns, and comedy, just all the gags that build up in your head, or just things you wanted to try out. You can do that in role play.
Sure. Now, do you like to read?
I love to read. I mean, that's pretty much,
goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, my life is built around reading and writing.
And so,
So,
what are you
yeah.
currently reading at the moment?
Oh gosh, I'll try to pick something fun to talk about.
Well, no, it doesn't
Um,
have to be fun. Or is it like school books and stuff that you're?
yeah, right now I'm working on my critical writing, so it's quite dense theory stuff. But actually, one of the books that I've been reading for pleasure, let me pick one. I've actually been reading a really nice book by Hilary Mantel, who won the Booker for Bring Up the Bodies and Wolf Hall. So I'm sure many people have heard of her. But this is one of her earlier books called Experiment in Love. Um,
Oh, and
really,
what kind of book is it?
it's kind of a coming of age story. Uh, I haven't gotten very far in it yet, but just it's amazing to see uh, her writing in the contemporary space because she became so well known for her historical fiction. Um, it's interesting to read her in a slightly more contemporary way.
Certainly. Now, you mentioned earlier that you started RPing in the forums. Uh, do you RP in any other games?
No, WoW is pretty much the only game that I play. My role play experience started in chat rooms and emails and things like that. So it was longer texts, but
Certainly,
yeah,
like AIM or IRC chat,
yeah,
that sort of thing.
exactly,
Sure, sure,
exactly,
wonderful.
yeah.
All right, well that is awesome. Do you have any other hobbies?
Um, I guess. Well, yeah. Should I just list them? I don't know.
Sure, sure.
One of my favorite things to do to kind of de-stress from the game, especially when I'm raiding and I get really tense. And like I said, WoW is the only game that I play, so I used to be even worse at it than I am now in terms of like mechanics and stuff. The actual playing the game part, I feel like I'm still pretty atrocious at. But I get really tense after raids. So one of my favorite things to do is yoga because it just kind of relaxes your body and gets all that tension out of you.
Oh, wonderful. That is awesome. And well, I guess you mentioned that you raid as well in the game.
I love raiding. I'm pretty new to it still, but it's something I've always wanted to try. And Chromie was my first 90, so I was really excited to actually see what this end game stuff that everyone was talking about was.
Well, certainly, and I think that if for those raiders, they get to see a lot of that storyline continue all the way up to the end there, and so that's I think very important that raiders should go out there and try, and and so you can see some of that end content without having to go to YouTube and look it up or the wiki, but being able to experience it, I think, is a different feeling, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's again forced me to pay attention to lore a bit more, and to kind of slow down and appreciate the little details in the game a bit.
Well, excellent. Alrighty, folks. When we come back, we are going to ask Chromie for some advice for those new RPers out there. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, and we are back. And so, Chromie, we are on the Cenarion Circle server. And as an RP server, which it is, it's a little harder to get into, I think, than, say, Moonguard RP is. What's your advice to someone that's wanting to come to Cenarion Circle and RP? Where do they go?
Mm. The first thing I encourage them to do is to not get discouraged by the surface appearance. We are a low pop server, I think, and it can seem like a dead server when you're walking around Stormwind and you don't see anyone. But the first thing you need to do is join our chat channel called Alliance OOC. And there's a Horde version as well, Horde OOC. But I have to say that the Alliance community is a bit more active than our Horde currently. We are working on that, but you will see more people on Alliance generally. Join the chat channel, and I know it's hard. It's really hard, and it'll be embarrassing, and you might not get a flood of responses straight away, especially during, off-peak hours, but reach out, say hello, and I promise you will find someone, or you'll find many someones who will just jump at the chance to talk to you.
Yeah, let me tell you folks from my experience. When I came in, that was one of the things that was suggested to me by Chromy, and so I joined the Alliance OOC. Is that correct? Alliance OOC.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and connected, and right away people were very nice, very welcoming, and so every time I came on, people would say, "Hey, Turwinkle, hi, Turwinkle," and really they almost go out of their way to make you feel welcome. And so everybody that I've had the opportunity to talk to on the Alliance chat was very, very nice and very welcoming. So that is a solid bit of advice. And again, because you're a low pop server isn't necessarily a bad thing, is it?
No, I actually, that was one of the reasons I chose Cenarion Circle when I came back. Well, part of it was that I play on a very old computer, and I didn't want to make it explode by going to a big server. But another part of it was that because my experience of RP has always been the best when I work with individuals or with a small group of people, it was very important to me that I find that small community, very tight-knit sort of feel, which is what Cenarion Circle has.
Yeah, I really get that sense that it's, like you said, a very tight-knit but welcoming community. And, so again, yeah, you're not going to run into as much random RP here, are you?
No, but I have not once had trouble with walking up to people and just role-playing. So I really think it just takes initiative.
All right. And so I guess that brings us to our next topic, and that is, what advice would you have for that person that has never RP'd and has seen, say, this episode or one of the other RP episodes and thought, you know what, that sounds like a lot of fun, and so they roll a tune up here on Cenarion Circle. What advice would you have for that new RPer?
The biggest piece of advice is to not get discouraged. And especially to people out there who are just like me when I first rolled Chromie, they have that character idea that they love, and they're just brimming with storylines and plots that they want to try out, but then they don't know how to find anyone, and they don't see anyone anywhere they go, and it's really difficult. Don't give up. We are out here, even though we might be hidden. Be fearless. I know it's hard, but be fearless. Occasionally you might get shot down. So what? It's a game. Just keep chugging along, and eventually finding even that one person that you look forward to seeing every day when you log on. It'll make it all worth it, because you'll realize eventually, if you work hard enough at it, that you found your home. This is your RP server. This is your community.
Well, that's excellent, excellent advice. Yeah, it's something that, you're going to have to put yourself out there a little bit, but that's what role-playing is, I think. And it's, like you said, it's not a single-player game, but you're here with a lot of other folks, and so it takes just that initial step in going up and just starting to RP. And, take it slow. You don't have to, be, the best RPer right at the beginning. Take it slow, flesh out your ideas, and like Chromie said here, don't get discouraged. Continue with your RP, and people will eventually start to respond and accept the storyline you're going with, for the most part, as long as it's not something that's way outlandish, like, like your Uther's nephew or something like that. But I love that bit of advice that you have for folks, is in that don't give up, especially on Cenarion Circle, where it might be a little harder to find, but as Chromie assures you, there are folks here that are willing and would love to RP with you.
In turn, I would on that subject of someone playing Uther's son, um, or the Lich King's secret daughter, um, I in turn I would ask veteran players to be gentle with our newbies, to be just as welcoming to them as Cenarion Circle was to me. Sometimes you find that if you just talk to a new player who is playing Uther's son and just chat through, out of character, why some people find their role play problematic, they're often very grateful for any advice and very responsive, and genuinely want to improve and are just really glad to have like a mentor figure to work with. So I would love to see more people reach out to those players that seem to be struggling with character concepts, or even with just figuring out how to write in the game RP format, because it is quite different. That the little say chat thing, like I struggled with it when I was transitioning, and there's so many different styles out there as well. Some people ignore that present tense completely that the game has and insist on writing very lengthy paragraphs in third person past tense, and from an omnipresent perspective as well.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
it certainly is. Yeah, so many different styles. As I kind of mentioned when we were asking about your style, there's multi-paragraphers, light, medium,
Right.
heavy RP, comedic RP. There's very serious RP, and so yeah, there is just such a wide variety of people doing different things with their storylines. And like you said, I think one of the hardest things to do is to find what your style is, and kind of honing that and learning how to emote and like you said, how to talk. But I think for those new RPers out there, again, take it slow. Write your sentences. Don't use leet speak, as it were, but write your sentences out. Capitalize. Punctuation is important, and take it slow. And I think the further you go along with that, the better you'll get, because nobody starts off as the world's best RPer. Everybody's got to start, I think, at the beginning, like you said. And I think what is great about what you just mentioned for those veteran RPers out there, remember, folks, you guys were that new person that was shy about walking up to people, and you weren't the best either. So look for those new RPers out there and lend them a hand, and reach down, help them out. And I think what that does is not only give Cenarion Circle a better sense of community, but it makes the community better as well.
Absolutely.
So here you got Turwinkle, you got Turwinkle rambling as well. Look at that. So
Yay, community.
Yay. So folks, when we come back, we're going to give the final thoughts to Chromy and allow her to add anything that we might have missed here tonight. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, and we are back. And so, Chromy, is there anything that you would like to add that maybe we might have missed during the interview, or some shout-outs that you would like to give?
Yes, I want to emphasize how great Cenarion Circle is with roleplay events. It can be difficult to run into random RP just while you're out and about, but we have amazing events on CC. Pia Presidium, which is run by Gentle, a really wonderful lady who has just devoted so much of her time and energy to the community. Her group runs, I believe, 2 different events. One's Troubadour Night, which is a storytelling event. People sing and dance, storytell. It's really lovely. There's also clinic nights, where you can go get your character patched up.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, and I think you've been to Conclave's event, the weekly sermon,
Yes.
that's held just behind the cathedral.
Yes, and it was
That's always, yeah.
it was a fantastic event. We had a lot of fun. We didn't get to see the whole event, but the amount that we got to see was a great time, and everybody was really enjoying the community event back there.
It's a blast. And a few other guilds to look out for. Um, I've mentioned, oh, here we go again. Leechdew Cheliad. um, and Stormwind Union, I've also mentioned. The Stormwind Union events, the last one I went to was especially fun. Chromie was an attorney for a fellow gnome, and we played out a trial. And it actually brought up this really interesting discussion about how we as a community should handle the idea of legality in this world, the judicial process and things like that. Just a really interesting discussion on governing our characters, really. And another guild I'd love to get more exposure for is Legion. They're pretty new, and they have a very strong group of raiders, but they are very eager to get into the roleplay scene. So if you're looking to join the server and want that balance, I would check out Legion as well. And there's just so many others that you'll run into. Anyone you run into will be happy to help. So I guess my last parting piece of advice for anyone looking to join Cenarion Circle is to ask for help, because we're here, we're waiting, we want you to hang out with us.
Well, great. That is awesome. Again, let me just reemphasize, how much I enjoyed the Conclave's event, and it's always nice to hear that a server is doing community events. They're not just guild events, but events that involve the community, because what that does is, again, that fosters just that sense of everybody doing something that involves everybody, and so there's nothing that excludes anyone from joining in the fun, and it really ramps up, I think, and makes the world feel alive. So great. And so, folks, when we come back, we are going to Chromie's secret place where she gets away from some of her duties at the cathedral, and so we will see where that's at next. All right, so your secret place is
yeah, this is a lesser known gem of the RP community called Lion's Pride Inn in Goldshire.
Oh,
yeah.
There's some people that aren't are not. Oh boy, folks, you don't want to read into the MRPs in here, and we're just kidding.
Okay,
we're just kidding. We're getting out of here.
This
oh
isn't
my
real secret place.
Please, we have to get out of here. We need some
I
cleansing.
need to dispel you.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
There we go.
Let's get out of here before we're. Okay, several showers and cleansings later, we've actually gone to the real hiding place for Chromie when she doesn't want to do her chores at the cathedral. Is that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Chromie's the worst priestess ever, and she's usually stuck on toilet duty. So to run away from that, she hides here, just hangs out here for a while.
Okay, so as you can see, folks, we're on this statue here on the walkway into Stormwind, and a wonderful place for us to end this fantastic interview with Chromie. We want to thank you so much, Chromie, for spending the time tonight talking with Turwinkle and answering all of his pestering questions and just having the patience with us tonight. It has been so much fun talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's just been a blast, and I'm honored that you went to Goldshire with me.
Hopefully no one got any pictures of us coming out of there, and I think we escaped relatively unharmed. Oh my gosh.
He's not who you folks thought he
was.
was.
No, that's not true. Unfortunately,
but thank you so much.
Yes, unfortunately, as you can see, that unfortunate side of Moonguard seems, because of the cross realm, has unfortunately bled into some of the other servers, and Cenarion Circle doesn't seem like they have been untouched by that. But no, it has really been a good time, and I couldn't think of a better person to talk to as my first interview here on Cenarion Circle than the famous anointed crown princess
Yeah.
of the tram between Stormwind and Ironforge, Khromie. And again, folks love Khromie here, and if you folks want, roll a tune up on Cenarion Circle and come and talk with Khromie, and I guarantee you won't be disappointed. She is just wonderful, not only on film but in between shots. She's just been fantastic to talk to. And so with that, I guess we'll finish with saying trolls balls. And Turwinkle will make his way back, folks, to Chillwind Camp with his final thoughts on this wonderful player, Khromie.
Bye, Turwinkle.
Well, we made it safe and sound back to Chillwind Camp, and boy, Turwinkle, what a great time, wasn't it?
Sure.
So let's give Khromie a nice big thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. We really had a good time talking with Khromie about her RP and about Cenarion Circle as well. And so if you folks like this episode, click that like button. If you'd like to comment on this episode or on any of our previous other episodes, please do so below. Let us know what you liked and let us know what you didn't. And finally, if you'd like to subscribe, well, we would love to have you. So hit that subscription button today. Well, Turwinkle, excellent job, sir. Questions right on point as always. And Turwinkle, we will see you next time.
I'll miss you.
We'll miss you too, Turwinkle. Bye-bye.